Hello everybody and welcome. I'm a man on a mission. Actually, multiple missions if we're being honest, because ever since the For Science update for Kerbal Space Program 2 came out, the game now includes a bunch of new missions that you can perform to keep yourself busy and have something to do in the early access space game. Today we're going to take a closer look at the main story missions, what they potentially mean for upcoming releases, and whether or not this really is the end of the line. The storyline. Okay, I admitted that was a bad pun, but there's lots of other good stuff happening on this channel and will so in the future. For instance, my ongoing epic Joule 5 mission, which I stream on weekend. Will I finally be able to land on Lathe? And I still owe you that deep dive into the Soviet space shuttle Buran, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss all that new content when it comes out. Before we get into the main topic, this is your spoiler warning. I will present things in this video that reveal the main story of Kerbal Space Program 2, as well as some detailed shots of things on other planets and moons. While all of them are already in the game since it was first released back in February, some of you probably haven't found them yet, and I really don't want to spoil the experience, so you can jump to this timestamp or select the final chapter where I will give some sort of a mini review. Alright, you have been warned, so here we go. We start with our first story mission. When you start a new exploration game, you will not only get access to the tech tree and science experiments, but also to missions. Pretty early on, you will receive one that tells you to go to the moon and investigate a strange signal. At this point, you're probably somewhere 1/3 into the first tier of the tech tree. Since our mission giver, Dr. Carrie Kerman, thinks it could be the greatest scientific discovery of our generation, naturally we are curious and we decide to check it out. So you build your rocket, you fly it to the moon, and then you have to try to land it close to that mysterious source. If you have played the original Kerbal Space Program, you will recognize this as one of the monarches, now freed of all the regolith that had encased it. On it, we can see a stylized map of our home system with Kerbal in the middle and the planets represented as these shiny jewels. Anyway, this arch is of course the source of our signal, and once we reach it, we get the science reward and find out that the signal is repeating over and over. That's it so far, at least until you accept the second story mission. This takes us to Kerbin's second moon, Minmus. In order for the story to proceed, you need to orbit it with a probe that contains an antenna. Mission Command picked up something over there, but they're not sure yet if it's not just some static, so we need to investigate with our antenna-equipped spacecraft. And once we do so, we can decode the message. Welcome, younger sibling. Anyway, this leads to the discovery of the second monument, the Squid Temple on Minmus, as I like to call it. Here the mission debrief kinda bugs out because it repeats the same message over and over and doesn't really tell us anything significant. But things are progressing fast because now we get to the third story mission. This plainly states, hey, we found a new signal, go check it out. And the title of the mission blatantly spells it out as Juno Monument. Well, so did the Minmus Monument mission, but at least you had to discover its exact location first by sending a probe. Or you can do it like I did, send a larger vehicle that contains a probe coordinate antenna, then separate a lander and visit the monument once the first mission has been marked as completed and you can start the second mission. This one though is going to take quite a bit longer, especially if you aren't experienced with interplanetary missions, be it KSP-1 or KSP-2. And of course, attempting to aerobrake with the new re-entry heat system can cause some headaches, to put it mildly. To make things a bit more challenging, this monument is not close to the equator but on the northern hemisphere. But luckily my lander had enough fuel to make it there. And what a sight to behold! This tree structure really looks great and I enjoyed visiting it. There appears to be a Kerbal, then one of the squid people from Minmus, and then some others that have eroded away over the eons since this had been constructed. Carrie Kerman is of course delighted, but an explorer's job is never done, so we need to go further, and thus begins the 4th story mission. This time we have to get into an orbit around Jool, and we need to do so by delivering a probe with a strong antenna. Once we have achieved that, we discover another one of those signals, and it says something that appears to relate to the Duna monument. Honor for Gorja, the oldest one, the dreaming tree that bears the fruit of the world, whose unwaking eyes watch over the Tetrad, and whose roots are watered with knowledge. Instead of letting the player figure this riddle out, Carrie Kerman directly explains to us that Tetrad in this context means the 4 branches of the tree alien, which apparently is called Gorja. To be fair, it wasn't that hard of a riddle as long as you know that Tetra is Greek for 4. So we need to get to Tylo to learn more, and this is one of the toughest nuts to crack for unexperienced players. It is a pretty big and dense rocky moon with gravity close to Kerbal but no atmosphere. You need to perform a powered landing and then have enough fuel left to get back into orbit. At least you won't be hampered by an atmosphere on the way up. That's the thing with atmospheres, they're great when you want to slow down for free, meaning without having to spend too much fuel, but they make things harder when you want to leave again. Anyway, once you have cracked this puzzle, you will discover the biggest monument of them all. It's this space Buddha kind of thing holding a sun in each of its outstretched hands. And we get another message. Joyous salutations, younger sibling. You have grown upward. We are feeling the emotion of pride. You have made it this far. You must be ready for something meteor. Jubilant wheezing, humorous diversion is the best pharmaceutical. This belief, like many others, we share. Come find us where Kerbal does not shine. We shall be waiting. Good luck. And with this, the story missions are done. At least for now, because in order to find those other beings, or maybe just what's left of them, we will have to wait for the Interstellar feature update, which is either coming at the end of this year or sometime next year, based on some rough estimations I did. These messages and the mission briefings basically confirm what many players have expected once those monuments were discovered shortly after the first early access version of Kerbal Space Program 2. Kerbal lore is being expanded quite a bit with this game. We probably have to expect 3 more types of sentient beings in addition to the Kerbals, and this tracks with what we know about the upcoming feature updates. Remember in my previous video where I shared some information that the game's creative director Nate Simpson had posted on the official KSP2 Discord server? He said that 3 new systems are already mapped out, so it might stand to reason that we will discover 1 new sibling in each new star system. Or maybe just what's left of them, pointing us into new directions to discover new things. Since the Squidmouth people are the only ones well visible aside from the Kerbal, I would assume that the first aliens we are going to discover will be them. You have heard it here first, guys, the Deb system, which will be the first we will be allowed to play with once the Interstellar update is here, is going to be home to the squid faces. And then we will discover how the next one looks like. And the second system will lead us to another one, which will then be the oldest sibling in the 3rd new star system we will be able to travel to. And this answers the question whether or not the story is now really over. No, as soon as we get interstellar progression, we will also get new missions that will continue the story I outlined in this video. More Kerbal lore is definitely on the way. Let me know in the comments or join me over on my Discord server for some more discussions. Alright, this is now the spoiler-free version, so if you skip to this section right from the start, welcome! What I want to talk about now is how I perceived this string of missions and how missions are structured in general. Honestly, I enjoyed doing the KSP2 missions a lot more than the ones in the original. Those were generally more like, reach this specific orbit and bring along that specific part. There was no coherent glue holding it all together and it felt quite repetitive. Even the side missions in KSP2 offer more variety, especially when you're tasked to visit one of the new discoverables, of which this one is the first you're sent to, Cappy Rock. I don't count this as a spoiler since it is so early in the game and I've already showed it to you in a previous video. But we have also seen this structure on lathe in one of the trailers, as well as Stargazer Point, which I also visited for a mission. I have read some comments where people complained that they want to have the currency system of KSP1 back. To you I say, wait until Resource Gathering is implemented. If you check out the detail info of some parts, for instance this nuclear power plant, you will see that it requires resource input to run. This tells us that with an upcoming update there is going to be an additional constraint on parts. Be it that you need a certain quantity of some type of resource to build special parts in the future, or that you need a type of resource to keep that part running. In case of the power generator, you need uranium. So this means that you will have two constraints in the future: science points, which limit how far you can progress in the tech tree, and resources, which limit how extravagant your vehicles can get. Hungry for power? Just slap more nuclear power plants on it. Well, that's not going to work if you need to bring along a gazillion tons of uranium to keep that thing running. In the end, I believe this game is designed to use these two limitations to teach players how to build smartly and efficiently. And it has been designed to do that from a very early point on, because we can see the resource requirements in pretty early pre-alpha gameplay footage, and I believe it was known for a long time that the developers didn't want to integrate currency. All in all, I'm quite curious how that storyline continues, and I will document it on my channel once I get the chance to do so. If you enjoy this type of content and you want to support me doing all of this, you can either join over on Patreon or become a YouTube member. Both offer tiers of rewards, which include early access to upcoming videos and also exclusive content when I have the time to produce it. Frankly, I really don't want to shill some VPN or food service that I will never use myself, but I have bills to pay, so a Patreon sign-up or YouTube membership would go a long way for me. And depending on the tier, you get a shout-out at the end of the video, like Kerbal Space Program, my first member who grabbed the In the Zone tier. Thanks for believing in this channel and your support. Thanks to all of you for sticking with me. We got exciting times ahead. Let's explore them together. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.